So in reality, people only see corruption when the people when are the opponents. Yes, it's corrupt. So but when we own people them, we back them. That way they forfeit corruption. Fine.
So that's how you would describe the current way how they face corruption.
You find out say, a number of groups them go particular they against this corruption case because they're facing at their own. Or then go particular support the prosecution where they think say not to their own person. And that way they're not fine at all. So the citizens were able to stand up and say, what we say corruption, let's denounce corruption in its entirety, because in reality it cuts back on the gains that we're supposed to get as people.
The participation of the people in democratic process, and major that we did is the elections we conducted. Right. We conducted this election in 2018, though questionable in our own terms, but for the sake of democracy, we were able to swallow the bitter pill and then allow the process to continue.
Right.
And we are not seeing those kind of stuff. Now we are going into elections, killings are happening, chapas are everywhere, people are going to jail, arrests are being made. I am a victim of detention 3 times for nothing. 32 days in Pandemba Road. And there are more people. Right. Kamarimba, after 1 year and bail, he's still suffering. He's languishing when he could be bailed. These are the issues that we are talking about. Okay, the democracy is dragging down, is pointing south.
In terms of also talking about democracy and the rule of law, then two are the work side by side. In a situation where the law don't prescribe, because when you talk about an effective rule of law, first of all, there has to be an accountable, a get for able for help for make able for achieve accountability and make sure say the court itself is accessible or rule of law is accessible and it's also just and it also help on the principles of fairness. And so because we get what we call substantive law, it give you an insight into understanding within the text actually writes, so that you're able to predict which kind of actions you get for venture into. If the law say, for instance, for engage in certain voter malpractices or, for be a person where they receive salary and contest an elections and that is written clearly in the text, and say you're receiving salary where you contest an elections, you are disadvantaging the other party where instead of the contest. So if the person decide for seek redress through the court system and the court look at the fact and evidence presented before them and the rule, we come here and begin misrepresent fact and try for subvert the minds of the public against a functional democratic institutions like the judiciary, where there's a very critical in terms of helping the country in development and sustain the democracy.
So as today, Wednesday, September 15, Salon they join other countries them for member World Democracy Day. Radio Democracy will look at how far the country day pan democracy. The program is still listening to now. Good morning, Salon. It come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. And we tell you earlier now we headline today now the program we can look at how far Salon Democracy Day. As today the country they join other countries them now the world for member the International Democracy Day. And at the studio, I want to welcome the studio guests them who don't get so far as we start to look at the topic. They can say ladies first, so I start with the lady we began at the studio this morning, when I'm Marcela Sambasisi, the Executive Director for Campaign for Good Governance. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Mabel. Good morning, Mabel. Good morning, Sierra Leone.
And also we began at the studio this morning, Karamo Kaba, the Deputy Organizing Secretary for the All People's Congress APC Party. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
And we also the expected representative from the Sierra Leone People's Party for join the conversation as today na International Democracy Day. We tell us say we look at how far Salon Democracy done the way make we decide for choose the civil society, we choose again the ruling party and serve somebody from the opposition for can discuss how far Salon Democracy done day. As the United Nations be set this day aside every year 15th September for like country them go to use them as opportunity for look at how far democracy done they na then different country them, and also this na time then they use for reflect for let them go able for encourage democratic movements and promote freedom, peace and human rights. And according to dictionary definition, democracy then say is a government by the people in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised directly by them or by their elected agents under a free electoral system. But according to Abraham Lincoln, in say, democracy is a government of the people by the people, and for the people. Well, things don't change in the world, and we all see how different countries then get different definition as to how then they practice their own democracy. And Salon self no left bien. We all see what happen now na Guinea. Some people refer to and say now well na democracy than they for them. But in a salon contest, let me just start with the civil society woman waiting at the studio this morning. Let me know how you go describe the kind democracy we salon they practice amidst all the other situations that we don't happen at different parts of the world where people they refer to democracy. How you go describe Salonian democracy?
Thank you again. Thank you so much, Mabel. I think, say, part and parcel of this is about situating 2021 celebration of International Democracy Day. It's about situating Sierra Leone within the global context. And I want to say, within the global context, the theme what we examine now strengthening democratic resilience in the face of future crisis. And so if we want to look at the state of democracy, we get for watch within the COVID-19 pandemic and the social, political, and economic challenges where the COVID-19 pandemic, don't present. And basically, I like the way we try to define democracy. And throughout the definition, Famble they going to say, as if in Mabel they talk, he continue to emphasize the people. And so any form of democracy, because we get different democratic subtypes around the world, any form of democracy, therefore ensure say the people then at the center. Democracy supposed for carry the people. And one of the things that we don't become very, very much important now the fact that now it's not just about political democracy. If you ask for the state of democracy in the Salon, we've definitely come a long way. Sierra Leone, like post-conflict society, post-2002, we don't conduct successful elections. So if you then look at some amount of indicators for democratic progress, elections not an end in themselves, not just a starting point. And one of the things that way people that we do study democracy and politics say, they say country that we don't affect war. Now the least candidates for institute democracy. But the fact that because they get the tendency because of the consuming quality of violence for slide back. But for Salon, we're not able to conduct elections. Yes, the elections then plagued with challenges, definitely. I mean, some aspects of it, we are marred by violence, challenges, and other things then. But then you find out, say, a number of partners, nationally and internationally, acknowledge the election ending. As part of the democratic indicators also, for bringing the Salon state back on track post 2002, a number of institutions then been set up. Because if you remember the one that we're really familiar with the civil conflict, the entire country been there now waiting and called state collapse. Everything they don't collapse under the weight of bad governance. So in reality, the part of democratic rebuilding, I mean, for look at the courts, for reform the judiciary, for make sure so we get a force for good, bring the Human Rights Commission, bring transitional justice mechanism, look at special court processes, bring a process of truth and reconciliation, build those institutions that we will bring back to the state. And so, one of the indicators then they show say, yes, we are challenged, but the state, no relapse, go back to that former state of civil conflict. And so some amount of progress done in terms of political democracy. But democracy with time is supposed to yield the dividend beside other forms of governance don't feel. Democracy without economic reality, people feel, say, me votes, they translate to something. If people not feel that way, if economic reality is not kick in, if that democracy they're not able to provide the basic of services, if people that they live in a challenging environment for ensure say healthcare, because that is what we are discussing now in the global arena. COVID-19 don't present a number of challenges beyond, the normal. What we normally they experience, it don't bring another level of challenge. So you find out say countries then GDP don't they reduce drastically because of the challenges with the COVID-19. The health systems, they're overburdened. So you can imagine if you society like Salon, with health, sector challenge, then COVID-19 come with new challenges. You find out that the system don't even overburden. So it's about how for secure resilience in a challenging environment.
So with that information that we don't share with listeners about how you go describe democracy in Salon. If we look at the dictionary definition and also the popular phrase where plenty people they go by when are from Abraham Lincoln, where they talk about we get for do with democracy as the government of the people, for the people and by the people, and also supreme power way for be vested in the people them. If we look back 10 years na Salon, we don't see this type of democracy where it belongs to the people.
One of the things where we can always say na campaign for good governance is about how we situate democracy within the good governance perspective. And we believe the principles of democracy are the foundations of good governance. Because we align with the principles of democracy, we believe part and parcel of them principles, then they can be a foundational pillar for ensure good governance in any society. Some people say democracy is the best form of government, save for the others. It don't mean say not get your own challenges. It don't mean say not get your own discontent. But now the highest political form where anybody go aspire to. When you come to elections, for example, when at the starting point of a democracy, elections are very divisive and competitive, but governance is about national unity. So then difference then they for able for make them. So political leadership for able for move from parties and politics to state governance. And one of the things that what we don't see over time in the last 10 years in Salon, 15 years, we're not able for situate with democracy beyond competitive party politics. So it's as if the party and the states, we call an politics conflation. The party and the states, they become one. When a particular political party win election, it's a winner-takes-all system entirely, forgetting that you are actually governing the entire state architecture, right? Okay. One thing what political leaders then get for understand, not everybody get for supporting in a democracy, because in a democracy presupposes choice. It presupposes choice. Now, in your character, that one day, and not two people know they talk and sing and think the same. No. No. So within a democracy also, we get for forced dialogue. I am looking at the things that are absent. Where you say for benchmark in the last 10 years, we get for forced dialogue. And in fact, this is not only unique to Sierra Leone right now. As I say, COVID-19 presents unique political challenges. You find out, say, because traditional spaces of mobilization, like civil society, freedom of expression, where democracy espouse, you can call meeting, mobilize town hall, get people there for participate. Because of the COVID-19 and the nature of COVID-19, social distancing and demobilizing those groups, we are part and parcel of the way we were able to address COVID-19.
Okay.
But unfortunately, that one day not been the happen. So all man be mobilized on social media. And waiting don't happen. Promotion of hate speech, disinformation and misinformation. And specifically, movements towards targeting voices where they undermine the reality of within freedom of expression.
Okay. Continue for the with we name na Marcela Sambasise and in the Executive Director Campaign for Good Governance. Inside the program Good Morning Salon today, we dey look at the International Day of Democracy and Salon context. We dey specifically look at how far the country don't go for practice democracy. Inside the program now we dey go for a break, and after that the program they continue.
Salon Commercial Bank don't come with new banking products them for make life easy. With Million Online Bank and Million Mobile App, you can able for use Salon Link money transfer for send money to anybody. It let you not get bank account. Transfer or receive money na the same bank or any other bank. Transfer money to person or office, it let you not get the account number. Buy Edsalite pay other bill them, and now get advanced salary. You no need for worry again, but almost money dey na you earn. Because you can able for pay for things the way you buy in a supermarket and other shop them with the quick response code payment. Yagbadon done for we boss man them. With Beyond Online Direct, you can upload salary, pay all you supplier them, sell forex to Salon Commercial Bank, and watch your account anytime. If you need the app, download them from Google Play Store or any Apple Store, or go to Salon Commercial Bank website www.slcb.com. Sierra Leone Commercial Bank, delivering value.
Commercial Bank. The program Good Morning Salon, they continue, and inside this time around, they continue with your studio guest them. As today, inside the program, we they look at how far Salon don't go in terms of practicing democracy, and we they do this in line with the International Day of Democracy. And with we again at the studio, we get Kalmo Kaba, we come out at the all APC party, and in at the Deputy National Organizing Secretary. Good morning once more, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me once more.
As we look at democracy and how far we don't go for ensure say we practice na salon, in your own way of describing democracy, which you go say as your understanding of within a democracy?
Well, first of all, let me make it clear that the All People's Congress not get to our level elections. We they do constituency elections. We do district, we do region, then we do the NDC, National Delegate Conference. Mabel don't define democracy in a highly philosophical construct of the people, for the people, by the people. It simply means that the people are the center of democracy. The people, therefore, in any democracy, based on any constitution, it could be the Greco-Judeo, Greco-Christian, or the Sharia, which is based on the Islamic faith constitutions. But the people must agree, and the people must trust the power in the governor, in the government, and the government then assume the power for take care of the people and allow the people, give the people space to participate fully in the process, from individuals, civil society organizations, and other organizations, and also respect the right of the people, vulnerable people, disabled people, all kinds of people. You have to really, really base your democracy on civil liberties, civil rights, and defend the right of the people at all times. So therefore, if we look at our own democracy today in Sierra Leone, I think we are far-fetched from all of these things. And especially that today, the International Day of Democracy, or World Democracy Day, which actually say today we for be part of the process, for disseminate the idea of democracy, and also get the people involved in the process.
So if you say we are far-fetched, if we they celebrate this kind of day today, join the world for member Democracy Day, and we all know the popular phrase of democracy and what in democracy mean, you they say Salon is far-fetched in terms of the principles of democracy. What do you mean?
What I mean, well, election doesn't, it can start with the electoral process, a good electoral process, election process, but it doesn't end there. So from the time, in my own observation, my humble observation of what is happening in Sierra Leone, after election, we seem to even forget that election is just the beginning of it. Then we begin go into other things the way democracy they actually promote and talk against, like human rights. Human rights is very, very essential. Our human rights record in Sierra Leone today is very, very dismal. It's very poor.
Since when?
And also, well, it'll get worse. I will not say that human rights has been a premium principle where we don't abide to in these countries, but it is getting worse. It is getting so worse that it's pathetic. And as well, in Sierra Leone, we practice representative democracy. Of course, there are two types of democracy. You have direct democracy and you have representative democracy.
Okay.
Direct democracy is maybe was practiced in those days in the Hellenistic or the Greek times, where people are going to town hall and debate endlessly. But now we choose people. It is why it is very important for let people that involved in the issue of democracy, because you get to choose people for represent we. And if you ask me how dismal is our democracy today, even the House of Parliament we have, at least there are 9 people there that are not represented by the people,
so now,
that are just selected appointed by the court, and which is wrong. Let us say all of the issues that cropped up to that point, there is that provision that if that kind of stuff happens, we have to go back to the ballot box so that the people can try again for elect the right people. But if the court just take 9 people and put them at the parliament, I see almost an illegal parliament that we are operating on in this country.
Mr. Kaba,
these are some of the reasons why I feel say our democracy is very dismal.
Where you be lay your analysis, you so much emphasize today and today. Now, things say if we look at today, we need to go back and see how Ibitalik in terms of the foundation where the past left now to the present?
Well, exactly. Then I even mentioned that. I say I will not sit down here and boastfully state that it has been rosy all the time. It has not been rosy.
So where we need for look at, also we don't get her wrong for ensure say the best practice of democracy is seen is all level, especially for ensure say the people in the at the center of it all.
I think if we look at revenge game, if we look at regionalism, if we look at tribalism, if we look at this country, I think the worst place for women to live, probably, because the challenge is women as vulnerable people, and they are most vulnerable in Sierra Leone. What they get now, the disabled community. When you go out on the street, you see that there is no mechanism, no effort.
All way the highlight and talk about so right now. Is it an thing that we start for happy now, or if we want be reality to ourselves, we need to look back and say these challenges has been there long since way back? Again,
I just told you that it's been there, but it is getting worse. It's not getting better. It's been there. Issues with right issues then, it's been there all the time, but it'll get worse. So even the benchmarks they would all make at certain point, in the last 3 years, we just drag ourselves backwards again in a very drastic way. This is what I'm talking about. It's dawned on me that we are not moving forward at all. Instead, we are taking steps backwards.
You talk this because you're not a political party representative or a Sierra Leonean?
I think today I'm sitting down here with clear mind that this is pretty much a scholarly discussion. Mm-hmm. It is not a political discussion.
No, yeah.
So I'm here with a clear mind to state that we have issues all the time. Our democracy has never moved forward the way we expect it to move.
So there is
but I believe that, in my own opinion, humble opinion, it is getting worse. There is no time in our country that we have 9 people appointed by the court that are not elected by the people. I think this is almost an illegal parliament.
So the reason why we bring politicians them and una we go for do with politics amidst this discussion where we get to do with democracy, because when you go back to the definition of democracy itself, election gets for the day where people them they vote for elected leaders them when are through them then they expect say them for govern them well for let the democracy itself could be strong. And looking at what you don't say so far, we they look back like 10 years. Na salon, one of the elected people, you don't have capacity as deputy organizing secretary na your party, and na people votes for you for let you get that position there. If you look at the role where the political leaders them don't play, now waiting don't missing inside the past 10 years, we make salon democracy day like how we day, where to your context, it go behind instead of we go before.
Exactly. I started to articulate waiting don't missing. We not take ourselves as a nation of people. We are divided across tribal lines, regional commitments.
When are una the political leaders?
Yeah, I admit, because it's perpetuated by the political leaders, but perpetrated by the people. The people must have a resolve. And this is why we are here to educate the people that if you have a right to stand on your own words and say that I will not be a victim of perpetrating tribalism or regionalism, then the government must be resolved, have the will not to perpetuate these kind of things down to the people. So the people, I mean, when everybody take their own responsibility, especially the people, when the people stand firm, the government has nothing to do because they are the authority. Now they give the authority to the government. So in fact, this is why in a real true democracy, they have the time that they will go back and revisit their mandate they give to the government. Well, if the government is not providing all of the protections that they expected and respect their fundamental human rights, they can vote the government out.
When Madam Marcella been talk earlier, we've been talk about the principles of democracy. And governance now one way gets a very big role for play in all of them discussions and the political leaders them. Let we take the APC for example. How best the APC don't do in terms of their own role for ensure they improve on the country democracy. What you go describe say na in the APC party for example don't do na salon for build on the principles them we go make the democracy improve.
Okay, so for democracy for exist in the nation, you have to really provide the environment for enhance the lives of the people and open the space for political participation and also for freedom of the press, freedom of information, and freedom of association, assembly, all of those things. And since the APC government, I'm not saying that those principles or tenets of democracy they not be impeded, but I believe that the actions then, the movement towards improving these things, it was better because first of all, today, if you look at the movement of goods and services and even human beings from place to place, from Kailan to Freetown, Freetown to Kailan, from Pujong to and back, I mean, you see that we create the environment through embarking on infrastructure. And all of the city and township roads today, these are made of the tax money. The people are proud that they actually provided the money to build these roads. So this is how you make people own the democratic process itself by telling the people that I'm going to increase the taxes by 15%, and then that 15% tax, I'm going to do ABCD. And we said that we will pave all the city and towns. And we did to a certain extent. But when we left, we suppose that the same tax money is supposed to continue for pave or maintenance these roads. But everything stopped from right there. There have been no new developmental strides in terms of doing those things. And also, we say free healthcare for vulnerable, that is lactating mothers, children under 5, and then also pregnant women. These are all ways and means for take care of the people, so that the people will feel, and then the participation of the people in democratic process. And major that we did is the elections we conducted. Right. We conducted this election in 2018, though questionable in our own terms, but for the sake of democracy, we were able to swallow the bitter pill and then allow the process for continue.
All right.
And we are not seeing those kind of stuff. Now we are going into elections, killings are happening, chapas are everywhere, people are going to jail, arrests are being made. I am a victim of detention 3 times for nothing. 32 days in Pandemba Road. And there are more people. Right. Kamarimba, after 1 year and bail, he's still suffering. He's languishing when he could be bailed. These are the issues that we are talking about. Okay, the democracy is dragging down, is pointing south.
All right, continue for the with you at the studio. Karamokaba, they explain what's in the All People's Congress APC party done according to them as to how themselves don't contribute to the country and democracy. The program Good Morning Salon, they continue.
Inside the program today, we look at International Day of Democracy, and in Wion Salon context, we specifically look at how far the country don't go for practice democracy, and we'll get different studio guests them from the opposition APC party. We get civil society, Marcela Samba Sise, and now with me at the studio, they welcome the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, Lahai Lawrence Lima. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, it's up to you, and thank you for having me. What's in the capacity as PRO for SRPP?
Okay, thank you very much. Inside the program today, as I stated earlier, we did look at the International Day of Democracy, and before you come, we don't get the view of the two studio guests them, where you meet now, so we don't get the own view in terms of democracy and the type way they practice. Now, in your own context, let we get your view about your understanding of democracy or how you go describe democracy in this present government.
Well, my understanding not different from the definition we may read, and also what Mrs. say also don't talk around, and things say that's not in really defined way democracy. We get periodic elections over time, and we also get democratic institutions. Them way they make sure say we do the things them way it go really help for develop this country. And at the same time, the people them also observe the rule of law, because democracy in itself without the rule of law, not they work side by side, then we say that democracy they bound for make it fall. And over time, we don't enjoy what we call democratic transitions in this country. We say government don't come in, government don't go, and different political parties then don't form government, they don't go, other one then don't come. We don't able to manage yourself over time. We don't get challenges in with democracy, but we thank God at least we international players them we able for the listen to sometimes the mediations in terms where we can get the democratic challenges them very hit. We don't able for resolve then challenges and make sure say we move as a country. I'm waiting with the do in this country now, because all the pillars of democracy really seem to be functional in this country. Waiting government in and out for the do now for strengthening some of them pillars, then they strengthen democratic institutions and all. So in terms of, I listen to my brother Karama will be the talk say the human rights situations is getting backward. I'm not able to understand the context from which they say that. I don't know if like removing the criminal libel law is one way they depict say for make sure say, because the media self now one way at least very critical in terms of democratic functionality and viability. So if we remove the criminal libel law, when one way we able for strengthening the media for like we get a fearless and unbiased media for make sure say they hold the government accountable to the people, then I think say that a step in the right direction for strengthening with democracy. And also we believe say opposition party in existence also very critical for make sure say them provide viable and responsible opposition to the government, so that at least we go able for make sure say we deliver for the people and make progress. But if we know for exist as an opposition for make sure say we exploit the gullibility of certain class of people for make sure say we destabilize the service delivery of a particular government in power. So I feel say if we're able to adopt some of them pillars and we work together as a team. When I say as a team, you as an opposition make sure say you hold government accountable, or you become a very functional opposition by making sure that you criticize government policies where you think say unwise for make the country go before. And the media self actually so become fearless for make sure say they keep the government accountable. That way, government self will be able to deliver on the promises then way it don't make to the people. In circumstances where government's not been there imposed, or a party not been there imposed and it don't come imposed, it don't see say some of the promises then way it don't make, they are a bit challenging for make sure say they're able to deliver on them. Come back on the people, educate the people, waiting at the current situation and waiting at your skill for make sure say able to work on them. So in terms of also talking about democracy and the rule of law, then two are the work side by side. In a situation where the law don't prescribe, because when you talk about an effective rule of law, first of all, there has to be an accountable, a get for able for help for make we able for achieve accountability and make sure say the court itself is accessible, or rule of law is accessible, and it's also just, and they also help on the principles of fairness. And so because we get what we call substantive law, it will give you an insight into understanding within the text actually writes, so that you're able to predict which kind of actions you get for venture into. If the law say, for instance, for engage in certain voter malpractices, or for be a person where they receive salary and contest an elections, and that is written clearly in the text, and say you're receiving salary, you go contest an elections, you are disadvantaging the other party where instead of the contest. So if the person decide for seek redress through the court system, and the court look at the fact and evidence presented before them and then rule, we come here and begin misrepresent facts and try for subvert the minds of the public against a functional democratic institutions like the judiciary, where they're very critical in terms of helping the country in development and sustain the democracy.
So if we look at the definition back of the democracy itself, the people ending at the center of all the definitions that we don't ever come out we get to do with democracy. Inside the past 10 years in a salon, from the different leadership them where the country don't get, the people them don't be seen at the center for say the political leaders them just there for represent, but not then all the power in terms of service delivery and different in them where the people and they expect. We don't see this be done at the country inside the past 10 years.
I'm not really too clear on what you to say.
They ask the definition they talk about people them for them at the center.
Certainly.
Una the political leaders them they for work for the people them. In terms of service delivery, for example, inside the past 10 years, una don't put the different leadership they don't get. Una the politician they don't put the people them na the center.
Definitely.
How?
It's just that there are slight differences in terms of approach, and within this particular system belief, within the other system belief. I will take, for instance, just after the war, or even during the war, we forced democracy after years of one-party rule and the war. And in 1996, we experienced the first set of democracy when we were still in the war. So what was the focus at that material time? Was to how best we be able to make sure we end the war and create a very conducive atmosphere for we people. We were able to try. In the process also, there was also usurpation of democratic reign, and also because now be a new democracy, we understanding as to how democracy for functions also not been too clear. But we able to get democratic institutions like civil society organizations, them able for standing grounds and make sure we get the people's government restored back to power. And on that, President Kaba in tenure, we tried and able to end the war in this country. We end the war, restructure democratic institutions like what Mrs. Sebi talk about, what you call the justice sector reforms, and the ministers are part of also then democratic reforms. Then of course, you get the British forces we can have for make sure then restructure the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces to understand and rule in democracy, because the military is very critical in terms of democratic dispensation. They therefore understand what's their role in democracy. So over time, we don't go through all of them thing, and President Kaba makes sure it builds strong democratic institutions then. And along the way, we go into another tough elections in which it was expected that this country don't relapse back to war, but with a very good leadership, where the opposition, the incumbents then, when late Solomon Berrow, when I've been the then leader of the party, being able to demonstrate a very good and patriotic leadership by accepting the result, and that being able to make the whole difference. Where in fact the then president self being able to take some key opposition players, them travel with them to certain countries, and make sure we're able for manage with differences, the challenges, we will make sure this country not relapse. So if we don't transition through them period and then come themselves, get their own agendas, then get their own focus, and then they're able to achieve few things, then get few things wrong. We don't look on the things that we then get wrong. We also put a manifesto together and say these are the things we can achieve, and I'm very certain this government also is doing very well for achieve some of them things. And some government don't kind of power. The things that we achieve very tangible, some not too tangible, but also then very critical for build a strong democratic society. First of all, a democracy not a thrive in a country where you get mass illiteracy. You really get an educated population for make them able to understand the concepts and principles of democracy, so that nobody now can sit down on radio and begin subvert the mind for relapse this country again into anarchy. So that is more the reason why we need an educated society.
Okay.
But not just because of the one that we formerly they go to school, but even we say when an adult we not go to school again, We need some of those
Right.
civic engagements then for understand the culture of democracy.
Okay, Lahai Lawrence Lima na in name. Continue for the to inside the program.
We come over to Marcella Sambasi say we don't listen to waiting the two political representatives they don't say at the program this morning in terms of democracy, and you there in the middle way na the civil society body, you they represent the people them. Not only advocates, but in them we get for do with governance. CGG, for example, in over the years, not only preach continuously, but in them we go really improve on the governance structures them in the country, and that's a part of the democracy and the democratic process where Salon they experience. We don't listen waiting the political representative they don't say at the program, and earlier part of the thing that we talk being get for do with dialogue, political space, opening up the space for let the people them really feel like then they part of governance, because now them for they at the center of governance. The rule of law don't come in from the discussions them way we don't get so far. And Salon day but 1 or 2 years into elections, as the current practice of democracy, the experience where the people and they get, on where they talk about them, the governance structure within the country currently. What do you think say the country need for do at this stage, especially where we move gradually into elections, we're supposed to be a democratic process? Waiting for be done at this stage.
Brilliant question, Mabel. If I start and say a day like today, now follow we raise awareness on the value of democracy, and for look back against the old make, we uphold them. We say we get challenge, we educate we safe, we encourage we safe. Let them challenge them, they not be part and parcel of the society. Let we not set the agenda for be a discussion, APC versus SLPP, the media for do more than that, for raise and elevate the debates, for let we able for look at ourselves critically as a country, because we're Salon stable, we're better facility than they, we're opportunity than they for all Sierra Leoneans. No politician or the big passing country. The politician they under the country. That country they go only reflect the true picture of that politician or the individual or me as ordinary citizen. So now so we for able for set the agenda. A day like today, 15th September, for say how far have we come? What gains have we made? Can we consolidate them? And what are the challenges? Can we debunk them? And one, I want for put the record straight. And I don't think say, in fact, in politics recently we call them the judicialization of politics. Where political leaders then feel say the institutions of the states. I make a start with the foundation, the investment where President Kaba government-led governments make for ensure say after the conflict it make the institutions of the state viable, because now they for carry democracy. The first aspect now the people, the second aspect now viable institutions. So people feel say now the judiciary, the police for be an appendage and for be regime serving agencies. No. If that one they happen, law and order they broke down. So we need for set the record straight. Why we agree say the law now paramount in an election? Because you play elections by the rules. If they say if you resign 1 year, if you think say 1 year for the civil service, now a challenge that will change the law. But then I saw the law say we agree some of the positions them. But then you do not go to the courts and the court votes for the people. Say no, this person can't take political leadership. When the court pass verdicts, we go back to the polls and conduct fresh elections, because we do say the fundamentals of elections now the people. Now then they put authority. So they side and they will challenge. Let me look at them very critically in order to consolidate peace, in order to consolidate unity. So going forward, let me not make them kind of mistake that they again. So some of the things that we need for clarify them. And then, I don't talk about the people, I don't talk about how to form a viable institution. And I want to reiterate again. Maybe I'll say as we move towards 2023, we see increasing litigation. We learn from the sub-region. A lot of things then challenge. So the only side where, because it's natural, making be aggrieved. The minister, okay, they as the SLPP representative, himself can be aggrieved. Mr. Kamosef can be aggrieved. All man get for aggrieved. Now natural human tendency. When they aggrieve, nature they come. Whether as an individual or as a group, they're able for run to the court and seek redress. So the court just get option. the need for live up to democratic standards. Now, they get for hold the state together. But if the court is perceived, trust nothing. People think so we carry the case go, the case they turn in favor of certain set of people, it they destroy the country. Because what goes around comes around. So now that circle, that unending circle there of deterioration, how go they pan? So the courts really need for stand and reform itself for suit the current challenges so they get with democracy. And finally, corruption. I not go talk, all this talk about International Day of Democracy, and I not talk about the cutback where corruption they make to against the war for don't get. It's a major cutback. The basic thing that we forget as a society, we know they get them. Because the consuming quality of corruption is high. And if we look at fighting corruption, it get for be all man business. And it get for be independently fought.
So how you go describe the current fight against corruption under the leadership of Ben Kaifala?
So that's what I'm coming to. Institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission, if we're able to see corruption, not individuals. Not individuals. So the society, for perceive the anti-corruption, say, when there's a set of people here, so it's also a fundamental problem with the society. Because there is a maxim we say, the people get the government they deserve. Now we they deserve, the government come up from we.
So you talk about
the current government, the SLPP leaders. Now from Salon people they come out. They're also different. They're not come out elsewhere. Now this is safe. So in reality, people only see corruption when the people they when are the opponents. Yes, it's corrupt. So but when we own people them, we back them. That way they forfeit corruption, fine.
So now so you will describe the current way how they face corruption.
You find out say, a number of groups them, then go particular they against this corruption case because they're facing at their own. Or then go particular support the prosecution where they think say not to their own person. And that way they're not fine at all. So the citizens were able to stand up and say, what we say corruption, let's denounce corruption in its entirety, because in reality it cuts back on the gains that we're supposed to get as people. So look at our hospitals, look at our roads. In fact, permit me for saying at this program, I am making a public appeal. That road where they lead to a seat of power, where we National Assembly sit down, Parliament, where they lead to State House from Circular Road. That road now an ISO, it is in a very bad state. Who are responsible? All these things, people, democracy is about delivering services. Who are responsible? Ministry of Works, holding people accountable. So that is why, as you say, Mabel, dialogue, allowing, creating the environment to speak out is very much important. Now we they promote as democracy practitioners, as campaign for good governance. Let me talk.
Okay.
When we talk, it better pass through the fence. Or it better pass, look what's happening now. We don't want those kinds of scenarios. That's why citizens must have the avenue to hear their views, and leaders should be able to create that environment for build consensus and arrive at a decision.
Okay, continue for day with Marcella Sambasisi. Inside the program Good Morning Salon today, we look at the International Day of Democracy, and in terms of Fuyon Salon context today, we surround them on how the country don't practice democracy so far.
The program Good Morning Salon they continue, and we come over to Karamokaba now. We talk on the issue we get for do with democracy as today International Democracy Day. We don't talk to the civil society representative ahead of the elections now. We on all on states where to things in the kind democracy we salon they practice. So from your perspective again, ahead of the elections, waiting you think say need for be done as a nation for let we know get the electoral process wrong because not part of democratic practice. We don't hear from Madam Samba make mention of the rule of law we get to do with justice, the way will be dispensed, and say we talk about corruption, the fight against them and other things. But for you, waiting you think say as a nation we for do for let we know get a democratic process like elections wrong.
Well, even the Secretary General of the United Nations in this September 15 World Democracy Day, now in concerns then that the control of freedom of expression, the aggressive cyber policing, and also the postponement of elections. All these are very big concerns for the Secretary General of the United Nations. And right now you can see that the Honorable Deputy Minister is very boastful about the repeal of criminal libel law, which myself, I jump. It's a welcoming thing to do, but aggressive cyber policing, it's all going to take back from the democratic environment where we feel say we will improve our lives then. And let me tell you, all of these laws that where Parliament they pass now, they are good on the paper. Me, I feel say based on what they happen on the ground, it's just like a facade for make the international community, they give accolades to the president that, oh, you don't do that, you don't take, because these are very important issues in terms of democracy. But when it comes to real practice, or for really practice them, you're not going to remove criminal libel laws and still suppress the freedom of expression and the freedom of information environment. Arresting people going to jail for this or that. And then if you look at what happened in these 3 years, think about the Tombo issue, think about the prison break, think about the McKinney saga. All these now very, very bad things the way they don't take place in this country, where they're not supposed to happen if democracy they are at work.
So as much as you point out the things that they happen, we think say this is a suppressed democracy. You think say only the foundation for let democracy be practiced in all area, the foundation be done today?
Yes, to the most express. I mean I really don't like where would they personalize this, because I see the minister come, he just jump on me and what I say. And would they still the personalize, say, if we don't left foundation?
Because they make an example of current government. No, now I make her ask you.
Now you ask the minister about the last 10 years. He went all the way to Kabas 1994, and he said nothing about, because the last 10 years in real now, and by Kuruma in 7 years, and the 3 years of Madabio, President Madabio. So he went all the way to 1994. So
waiting needs to be done ahead,
uninterrupted.
Ahead of the election, Mr. Kaba.
You understand?
As
very
citizens.
robotic, uninterrupted. So now I'm trying to make a point that is not the matter. It was not about 94 to now. You see, and we specifically, we did things. And right now, look at what Madam Marcella Samba states about the state of the road to the citadel of power. You understand? So what is happening to the 15% taxes where they are still being taken? And remember that while we were making the roads, we were still paying salaries. So what is going wrong now? Why we not pay salaries and still continue for make the roads there? Imagine also we stop. We not do all of the city roads, but the part the way they left now, then for the taken from there, they do more. So we will get perfectly paved cities and townships. So the poto even dry cough, now then dust then the way they happen. And if you check statistically, medically, health-wise, we don't increase the livelihood of our people by doing all of those stuff. So if I see that I am getting interrupted too many times when I'm trying to...
No, I mean, asked earlier, waiting need for be done as a country, would they move towards an election?
Well,
in terms of democracy,
exactly. Now
need for
now the things then we need to be done. Make the, like Marcella Samba correctly stated, the judiciary for do the right things, not for impose parliamentarians on the parliament. Then if you don't pass criminal libel law, you forgive the freedom of the people for express themselves, and the threatening of postponing the elections. All these are serious issues. And look at the laws the way the Buan pass in terms of local government act in decentralization. If the people they not been participate and actively discuss this issue to the best of their ability against threats to get them out of the equation, especially when another organization like COP come up into the political dispensation, then we begin to see a backpedaling of all of these arrangements. Okay. So, dear, please, if when you ask a question, I see it's different. I sense some kind of too many interruptions in my response. Really, honestly, I feel that.
Okay, continue for the with me.
So please, when I give me chance, make I articulate me own point them, just like how you give anybody else chance for articulate in point them. Because there are so much to discuss in this, and we don't have time for it.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Kalmo Kabana in name, and Ina, the Deputy National Organizing Secretary from the APC party. Now we'll come over to Lahai Lawrence Lima. You don't hear waiting, we told that gets him don't talk about democracy and the way forward as we approach we next election. What do you think about this suggestion or things that we didn't come up with? You think that this will strengthen democracy?
Yeah, really, I'm not come here today for camp politics. I really come for we really talk on how we go able for better with democracy and make sure we work for this country in progress. In terms of a few areas, then we Mrs. Samba highlights in terms of not the judiciary get right for elect people, but the people. Quite agree with him, and I feel say the judiciary don't posture itself in such situation who say na them who's like they elect people. But what in the happen over time, or we need to understand also in the principles of law, we get what we call judicial precedents. And if a precedent's actions done they in which a matter or certain facts, where the facts and circumstances that similar done they before the court look into them, they also go for use of precedent actions for also arrive at a judgment, which has been the case before. We a few people like Honorable Kanja and the other person from Kyle where they conduct elections, and their elections and they then take them to court and then say the people are not being properly they in for the elections, and when the court rule against them, the people then we can't second being therefore automatically go to parliament without going to elections. And that is a precedent actions will also form part of the law. And so if similar circumstances also before the court, the facts and evidence the same, then the court get for rules.
So you think such Tonangi and political Tonangi and then kind precedents and they good for Salon democracy?
You know they call them Tonangi, it's just the law. That is what the law is. And
but that is not even true.
Please.
That is not even true.
And so we also see situations, you also see other members of parliament where then take to court, where the court also rule and free them. One such person, Honorable Chairman Majuba, and other court members of parliament also from the APC will then take to court, where they also make sure they don't see anything against them, then still did it. The other areas that outside MBC say the precedent actions not similar, or the circumstances not similar to the previous actions, then we say we'll conduct elections. Now one way we conduct now constituency.
So now make us say if then kind precedents and they continue, it good for Salon democracy.
Well, when you say if it's good for Salon democracy, that is the law until another fact or circumstances change itself. That is the law. It has to be followed.
But the other side is here now.
So ideally, what we for do as a people, we for make sure say we properly come for positions and make sure say we observe all the rules, the procedures we involve for make we fit and proper for contest elections, so that after those elections, we positions are not they're not going to be challenged. So then they basically then precedent actions and they serve as a deterrent, so that tomorrow we self not go venture, we wait now potential politicians that we want for vie for such position, not go do what other people and do we make them suffer then kind actions and they. And also coming to the issue of talking about roads or a few things that we can maybe make mention of. I just want to say I'm not really there for politics. But I think, say, if we decide, say, we're going to road, not for do cosmetic roads at a very exorbitant price, we also not the help, the progress of this country, rather than for do a cost-effective road development project, we also will be beneficial to the people and leftover also used into another project. So now, also in terms of looking at really strengthening with democracy, I think one of the things also we get for appreciate the president for. Now, like it as first in the history of this country, it don't make it available to the citizens of this country, to the public for make them ask any questions where they feel say very much pertinent as to how it lead in governance. And I think say that is a novelty where it not happen in this country. And much of the doubts then where people have been get, it been there in a better position for clarify some of them. And the one that way it feels say they are challenging, it been very, very bold about it and say as a nation, we get to understand this way and that we are putting effort for make people to accomplish some of them things. And I think that also makes the leadership puts the people is centered. I mean, the people centered to the heart of the leadership in this
Right.
country. So these are the few things. And also talking about saying, they say freedom of expression, they take back. I want to follow, we go back to the cyber law. I will really encourage my brother for making a really cite a particular clause where really take away the right of freedom of speech in this country. So ideally, I think with democracy, really they make it thrive. But also we need effort for make we strengthen them more. And therefore, we call on we brother than the opposition for make them be an efficient and effective opposition.
Are you forgetting the space? For let
they
them
always get the
happen.
space.
A very close space.
Well, we're going to use that.
Get another space,
issues,
you go
just
to
like
jail.
the media, they challenge you on things them for make we be accountable to the public.
We're going to use that
we
as
expect
to
them not
wrap
to for
up notes.
subvert the minds of the public.
Okay,
because
so in
of
1
this
minute, we come to other studio guests and we use that as your own wrapping up notes. And over to you, Marcella. So to wrap up the program now, how you as civil society activists, they expect Salone people and for use this day when an International Day of Democracy, how do they expect them to use
So
it?
we for continue for encourage we save. What starters say, now the best form of government, save for the others. If people they get right for put modes and decide on how their life will be won, I think it's a fine thing. So it's about political leaders opening up the space, making sure that institutions are fair and will justly, and I mean inclusion very important. Allowing women, young people, persons with disability, for let them self able for grown and the society, let them get their right. We are looking at possibilities and opportunities. The cabinets don't move a step forward in the Gender Empowerment Bill 2021. We want for see Parliament also do the needful for consolidate the gains around women's political emancipation at the country. So there's a lot to be done. A lot has also been done, but let's encourage ourselves to move towards democratic consolidation.
Okay, plenty thank you to you. Over to you, Kaba, with nothing related to politics. As we
No,
look
okay,
at
yes,
this day,
but I get for
as
response to
as we dey look at this,
judicial
as we dey
precedent
look
wey
at
not
this
to
day,
true.
waiting go na your role in terms of the space. How much are ready for work with government?
Exactly.
Because it
Now,
says
I'm not gonna
the democracy is more
You not
strengthened.
interject. Now you make the claim.
We
We
dey
for
round up
correct
the
that.
program.
Then we make a
Just
correction
in
of
case
that.
you
It's
miss
not a
someone,
judicial
interject.
precedent. Now a whole different situation. These people were challenged before the election. They were not qualified for go on the polls. You understand? So not to court business after. They no one they sit on a parliament. If people like them disqualify you for many reasons, then challenge you, then say no, you know for wrong. Then you go, you name appear at the polls. That
So
is-
ideally, you did not even
it's
take the matter to
completely
court,
different.
right? That's
Then
why you
for
are saying.
say the president in novelty is not a novelty. OGI was the national coordinator. We take President Anes Kurma all over this country, face the people, take tough questions from the people. That is not
So as to the wrap of the
a
program,
Anyway,
it
this
just
is not
don't
time for
differentiate in
politics.
terms of
I'm not gonna
opening up
engage
the
in that.
space, say they call on board as opposition for come on board.
Now, very difficult space because each time we go near that space, they will end up in jail.
Because you are not
if they
genuine.
fair enough, if they are fair enough, we have always
Right.
asked for that so that we'll be able to have a complete
Right.
participatory.
You are just not genuine, that's the point.
democracy.
Right.
Because you
Try
don't
to be
already
genuine.
Many
accuse me
thanks.
of subversing the minds of the youth.
Which you are
I don't
doing
know
now.
What is going to happen? When
But
I
una
do that.
ready for
Because
work
na from
together
here
in
again,
terms
they
of
na from
improving.
here
Okay,
they
well,
start.
I use the other one. You
Right.
misinform the
No,
public.
now you
Not
can
to,
use
okay,
this.
maybe.
I don't counter you disinformation without using subversion.
Many-
You don't use subversion, and this is radio democracy. Now they can arrest me the last time.
Nobody know they arrest you again,
Happen
Karam. I'm not afraid nothing.
No, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm
But you
not
know, the big
afraid,
brother
but
from
just telling
Cologne,
you.
So if
Nobody
una get the
arrest
space, una self ready for work on board for give democracy.
We have asked for that so much, so many times. But what? This is secret society in the wrong.
Who do I know?
You understand?
You see, what
just
they do now,
did
one
it
can
themselves.
transfer power.
They just did it themselves. They will never open the space.
All right,
And
many
even
thanks
for
so now for
Anyway,
joining
we
us
will
in
get
the
better time for
program.
camp
We
talk
will
politics.
spend
They-
more
there's
time
no
for
politics you can't talk
discuss.
about. Now we can't celebrate
where
democracy.
they
what
open the
day.
space for, where they
All right,
carry
gentlemen.
on their agenda. Now the same thing with the area of the media, the journalism, the forest state.
Are you able for no volunteer, so Mr. Kaba?
I know.
You able for no volunteer?
Because we get the
Because
space.
I am a very good observer.
Just because
And
we have the
besides,
space.
When I don't know, I have a strong
Alright,
media
Mr.
background.
Kaba.
3 years in the United States before. I cannot practice in Sierra Leone,
Yeah.
but I have a strong media background.
All right, so we'll bring
Okay.
you come out at 10 at the studio for let we discuss on more issues. Now, yeah, this edition of the program go left listeners them.
Yeah,
Plenty
this me
thank
big
you.
brother.
So the production team, Michael Sambola and Alex Lawrence Kuruma produced the program. Did you Ahmad give you technical support? Moses Kabra Mekuna see we live na Facebook. Plenty thank you to the studio guests them. We been get Marcela Samba Sise from CGG, Karamo Kaba from the All People's Congress, and also we get Lai Lawrence Liman at the studio from the SLPP. So till we meet again, maybe Kabadi say get yourself a wonderful day and goodbye.
And Sapti Kalone say blessed day. Bye bye.